much, Joelle. Congratulations to Janine. Yay. Love celebrating you. And thank you, Joelle, for that beautiful activation. Just that alone, to be able to take this time in the middle of our week to connect in as community and to connect in as community who are each connecting into our hearts. So incredibly powerful. So this past weekend, I found myself just feeling this kind of low level sense of background dread and despair. And have learned through my own highly sensitive leadership journey that is always a signal to pay attention. So it's no surprise to kind of be feeling a sense of dread and despair. We are in this continuous time of being pummeled by various aspects of intensity, definitely from a global perspective. And add on top of that, for each of us in various ways, personal perspective. So I wanted to bring this to the community for a few different reasons. Excuse me. First of all, as highly sensitive leaders, we are going to feel all of it. We are going to feel all of it. That is the wiring of our nervous system. That is what it means to be highly sensitive, is that you are taking in stimulation at a much higher degree than someone who is not highly sensitive. But feeling all of it is also about not just whether we feel it, but how we choose to work with it. And I would like you to take a moment to write that down. So again, feeling all of it as a person who's highly sensitive is not about whether you feel it or not, but as a highly sensitive leader, it is about how we choose to work with it. So feeling this kind of low level background sense of dread and despair had me connecting in, and from there, zooming out. So I want to talk first about zooming out in regards to this time of intensity that we are in right now. Zooming out is an opportunity to remember that we are experiencing a moment in time, but we are not experiencing the only moment in time. And I would take a moment to write that down too. That we are experiencing a moment in time, but not the only moment in time. So if we look back historically, even just over the last 100 to 200 years, there have been massive times of intensity. There was a previous global pandemic that we know of, and how many that perhaps we do not know of. There have been world wars, and yet there is a transcending progression. Things are changing for the better continuously. I remember years ago hearing an interview between Oprah Winfrey and Daniel Pink. And in that interview, that was one of the main highlights that Daniel Pink really emphasized. Daniel Pink, author, researcher. And Oprah really questioned him at first. She was like, what are you talking about? Things are terrible. And he was like, hey, wait a minute. As a Black woman living in the United States, are you going to tell me that things are worse than they were 50 years ago, 75 years ago, 100 years ago? And she was like, wow, you know what? You're right. So from, again, a zoom out perspective, in these times of intensity, we can look at the transcending progression of things such as women's rights, such as civil rights, such as even the birth of the middle class. What a concept to take a moment and remember that that used to not exist. Not to mention a place in the business world for those of us who are highly sensitive. So it is an upward ascension. It is an ascension that is two steps forward and one step back. What's so important in these moments of intensity is to be reminded to see the forest through the trees. That is that zoom out. And that ultimately, again, we are on a transcending progression. We are moving to 5D, and you can write that down. And whether that means something to you or not, or whether it's a concept that you connect to or not, we are moving to 5D, which is just language to emphasize that we are moving into an experience that is more about wholeness, that is more about oneness, that is more about ease. At this point, it's just a matter of how fast will we get there. And that means we are each tasked with doing our part. And take a moment to write that down. And so in these times of intensity, or like myself over the weekend, feeling this low level sense of dread and despair, this is when we are called upon to remember privilege of agency. And let's write that down. So privilege of agency, which I've spoken about many times in various times, I introduced it to the community in 2018. But every time it's important for me to speak about the definitions, because I remember when I first introduced privilege of agency, it was at an in-person training retreat. And I remember I introduced it as part of this teaching, and I was like waiting for like the light bulbs. And it was literally like I was just looking at a sea of highly sensitive entrepreneurs with just totally blank faces. And it was literally as if the ears could not hear what I was saying. It was such a foreign concept to all the highly sensitives in the room. And many of those highly sensitives who were in that room are still here in this community. So, definition of privilege of agency. Definition of privilege: a special right. Definition of agency: sense of control that you feel in your life, your capacity to influence your own thoughts and behavior, and have faith in your ability to handle a wide range of tasks, of situations. Your sense of agency helps you to be psychologically stable, yet flexible in the face of conflict or change. And I'll share all of that again. Privilege, a special right. Agency, a sense of control that you feel in your life, your capacity to influence your own thoughts and behavior, and have faith in your ability to handle a wide range of tasks, of situations. Your sense of agency helps you to be psychologically stable, yet flexible in the face of conflict or change. So again, when I first introduced that concept, it was as if the ears of the highly sensitive entrepreneurs and leaders in the room couldn't even take it in, because most of the highly sensitives in the community at that time felt that they literally had no right, had no control, and were instead a sponge just waiting to take in whatever wave of stimulation and intensity happened to be coming at them at any given moment. However, here we are now in 2022, and a lot has changed since 2018. So as highly sensitive leaders, we use privilege of agency in times of intensity. And the way that we do that is we turn to the tools. So for myself, over the weekend, I specifically turned to the Reins It process. First and foremost, trained enough for myself right now to immediately recognize when I'm feeling that sense of dread and despair. That is a signal. It is actually a signal to lean in, moving from recognize in Reins It to allowing it. knowing that I can trust myself to not be overcome and overwhelmed by allowing the feelings of dread and despair. Also, clearly at this point for myself in my training experience, understand that if I try to avoid the feelings, pretend that they don't exist, pretend that the intensity isn't happening, which many in the world are doing right now, that it's actually going to come back and it's going to bite me in the butt in a bigger way later on. So better that I lean in and allow, but not just allow as in to wallow, but allow as in to then move to the next step of Rains It, which is to inquire and then to nurture. So inquire, a great way to do that is auto writing. And to nurture, a great way to do that is scripting. And so that's what we're going to take time to do together as a community today. To turn to the power of the energy management tool of scripting, which is available to support you on any given day or any special event, or how you want to be using your time on or off or in, or to support you with a specific conversation, or to support you in times of intensity, local, global, or both. Now, I know that community curator and coach Lorna has established scripting as a practice where she's able to do it in record time. So before we go into our community experience, Lorna, I wanted to call on you and see if you would just be willing to share a little bit about the ways that you use scripting so that it's supportive without it having to be this big endeavor that then we just end up wanting to ignore and avoid because, oh, it's going to take so much. Are you willing?
Of course.
Thank you.
I think scripting is maybe my favorite energy management, especially as a daily energy management. I love to use it at the beginning of my day as I'm kind of looking at my tasks and my schedule for the day and maybe beginning to feel a little bit of overwhelm or panic or just even a sense of like not being all that excited. And then I script 1 or 2 sentences and it takes me right into my day and the energy that I want. So Susie, I actually gave you a sample of my scripting, if you would pull that up so that I can speak to it for a second. So what I do is I make sure I put my emotional, energetic, descriptive words in there. And this was during a very high intensity time, September of 2020, or getting ready for training retreats and all kinds of other stuff during our first online training retreat because it was pandemic time. So I calmly assess and prioritize my tasks and schedule. I am grateful to work this way because I really wanted to bring that energy in. And then so after I script, I just circle and or highlight the words that energetically, like from my heart, intuition, guidance, are the ones that I need to tune into. You can take that down, Susie. And then what I do is I set it on the left corner of my desk. So it's there, and I make a point of glancing over every once in a while and be like, oh yeah, I'm not feeling grateful. Let me regain that. And that's just how I love to use it throughout the day.
So appreciate that. Thank you so much. It's beautiful. And again, such a demonstration of being able to use one of the tools for nurturing, right? To really set that energy for the day versus the tool having to be about soothing and like becoming this extra big endeavor thing that has to be done. So take a moment, grab some pen and paper. If you don't have any that's really close by and you want to reach for a keyboard instead, that's totally fine. There is always the power of the kinesthetic when we are putting pen to paper. And together we are going to tune into the power of scripting to support through this time of intensity, whatever that might be for you. There are some beautiful shares on the forum. examples of personal experiences of intensity, experiences of reactions and responses to more of the global intensity. And again, scripting is your way of accessing privilege of agency and how you want to respond, and that you will feel the feelings, but you do not need to become them. So let's take a moment and place your non-writing hand on your heart. Together, we'll take in a breath and let it out. Feel yourself beginning to really connect in with your heart. If it's helpful, you can close your eyes. Together again, breath in and let it out. And one more time for the power of 3, strong, steady breath in and let it out. Starting our scripting with this phrase, today is a day of, and then allow your heart to fill in the blank. Today is a day of no right, no wrong, no judgment, no need to be complicated. Next scripting sentence, I access joy by, fill in the blank. I access joy by, fill in the blank. Let your heart speak. Next scripting sentence, I am delightfully surprised when, fill in the blank. I am delightfully surprised when, fill in the blank. Allow your heart to lead. Next scripting sentence, I end up feeling grateful for, I end up feeling grateful for. And final scripting sentence for today, I remember I am, fill in the blank. I remember I am, fill in the blank. Allowing your heart to speak. And then closing in whatever way you choose. Could simply be thank you, or I got this, or what a great idea, or you rock, or unicorns rule, or whatever you choose. Together, breath in and let it out. Agency, a sense of control that you feel in your life, your capacity to influence your own thoughts and behavior, and have faith in your ability to handle a wide range of tasks and situations. Your sense of agency helps you to be psychologically stable, yet flexible in the face of conflict or change. As highly sensitive leaders, we access the privilege of agency through the use of the tools such as RAINSIT, scripting, or anything else you choose. You feel it, but you do not need to become it. Breath in and let it out. And with that, I'm going to hand us over again to Community Curator and Business Miracles Coach, Lorna. Lorna, thank you.
Thank you, Heather. So I just wanted to share with you where you can find more about scripting if you are intrigued and interested in your online learning center. So there are 2 places. One is go to the top tools page in the learning library, training library, I think it's called. And you can access a beautiful printout there, handout. And then the other place is in orientation training 1210, nervous system and mindset management, which all of you have as part of whatever leadership training track that you're in. So where Heather goes through also the OFTU, the belief transformation tool, and auto writing, as well as scripting. So you might just want to hone in on the scripting portion. I personally like to revisit trainings like that with the through the transcript. Then I'm not using, the whole time to re-listen. I can just focus in on the piece that I want. So little tip. I've also been learning more of you in the community that I thought also like the transcript. So that makes me happy. The other thing I wanted to mention is a way that you could use scripting in a short way, quick way, like my example, or even what Heather led you through today, to support you with your 4Q plan. So if for any reason you feel kind of overwhelmed with the process of having to update it weekly and post it on the forum and establish your focus, or maybe you're not really sure if it actually works or if you believe in the process, you could script about both of those. You do a 1 or 2 sentence script about like how effortless it is, how you love being in the learning process, how you enjoy creating a new positive habit, and you're so grateful for the chance, whatever makes sense to you. So you pair the scripting with your 4Q plan. Back to you, Heather.
Love that, Lorna. Thank you so much. From here, we're going to go into breakouts, into our roundtables. So Susie, when you're ready, you can place us into the Zoom breakout sessions. Thank you so much. 20 minutes. Did I say 20 minutes? 20 minutes. All right, beautiful. Let's place our hands on our hearts. Together, let's take in a breath and let it out. Take a moment to take a look at this roundtable, taking in the amazing, beautiful faces of everyone who's here, maybe even taking note of some names. If there's any desire or need for follow-up, post this roundtable. I'd like to start by hearing from 2 people, any kind of new insight or an Oprah aha from the scripting that we just went through. A new insight or an Oprah aha from the scripting that we went through. You can raise your digital hand, and when I call on you, you'll just share your name, where you're zooming in from, and your leadership track. Something that maybe surprised you from the scripting. Maria Kyriakos.
Maria Kyriakos, Visionary Track, Seattle, Washington. So I loved it. And it being the Daniel Pink commentary, because my dad went through the Second World War in Nazi-occupied Greece. And so I feel very heavily war going on anywhere. And when you started the first question in our scripting saying, today is, and what came to me was a day of epiphany. I was like, epiphany. But the epiphany is just this concept of things are, of course, getting better. They're better than they were before. As is my business. Right, as is my life. So, so that was very insightful. Thank you.
Beautiful. So appreciate that. So appreciate that. So well said. So well said, Maria. Thank you. One more. Something that surprised you. Okay, if it didn't surprise you, something that, I don't know, you appreciated that came through. We can lower the energetic if needed. Just a reminder, your name, where you're zooming in from, and your leadership track. Let's go to Michelle. Michelle. Welcome.
Hey everyone, Michelle Loffman. I'm zooming in from Cleveland, Ohio, and I'm in the visionary leadership track. And like you, Heather, I felt like an extreme sense of heaviness this weekend, despair. I actually just cried for a couple hours on Sunday and just had to literally put myself to bed. And I couldn't quite pinpoint what was going on, but I think the scripting is going to help. But for me, a revelatory word was today is the day of renewal. Just knowing that I'm not stuck in that despair, despite, some personal things that are going on in life, and also feeling my husband's family is Ukrainian. So feeling that larger heaviness going on.
Yes.
And that there's a lot of good in the world still too. It's just that Oprah references that we are progressively getting better, even if it feels like things are worse in many ways right now too. So I just think that like renewal sometimes has to happen through pain and tragedy. And that's hard to tell people who are going through it, but that was just something that stuck out to me, is just today is a day of renewal. And that might take some time, and it is kind of a refreshing process, but still a lot of hope in that today. So
I'm so glad to hear that. Thank you for sharing that with all of us. And it really does show the power of scripting to support with that shift, right? And what I want to go back and highlight for you, especially since you're newer to the community, Michelle, is that if there's still some uncertainty about like what the heaviness of the feelings were specifically for you over the weekend, a tool that can really support with that is auto writing.
Oh, good. Okay.
And so referencing that training that Lorna emphasized will walk you through the auto writing in addition to scripting, and that's in your orientation trainings. And I'll also share that, that similar to your close connection, being that your husband and his family are Ukrainian, there's actually a member of the Business Miracles team is also Ukrainian. And so on our full team meeting this week, we had an opportunity to just hear from Sophie in terms of how she's doing and what's going on for her. She lives in Florence, Italy, and has been there for the last few years, but is deeply feeling the impact of the war in Ukraine, as I'm sure we can all imagine. So one of the things that was just so helpful to hear from Sophie is at one point I just acknowledged her for really being able to, stay up with her tasks in support of Business Miracles and the community and moving the mission forward. And she said how grateful she is to have her work with Business Miracles, and that the best thing that she could be doing right now is to be creating. Yeah. And she literally said, like, there isn't anything that's going to be helped by just giving into the despair.
Yeah.
So I thought that was a beautiful message, and connection and a reminder for all of us.
Love it. Yeah.
Yeah.
Feel it, but don't wallow.
Yes. Also, personally, I've been an avid reader my whole life, probably surprise, right? As a highly sensitive. But at the start of the pandemic, I could not read. So I did not read a book for like over a year. I read articles and I could not get through a book. And then I finally was able to start to reconnect to reading as like a pleasure practice for myself by turning to historical fiction, and specifically, and Maria, your share made me think of this, specifically historical fiction of women in World War II. And that's all I've read. So I just keep reading book after book of different historical fiction of women from World War II. And if anybody else is interested, I highly recommend The Rose Code. Oh my gosh, mind blowing, so inspiring. All about Bletchley. But this, I think what's calling me is that these women, right, who were not given any kind of credence or social responsibility pre-World War II were suddenly massively called upon and were so responsible for moving so much forward through that time of intensity. And the connection is, here we are as highly sensitives, everyone in this round table, except for Joseph, and we're so glad you're here, Joseph, are women, right? And what is our role to play during this time of intensity? And what is that meant to look like for each of us to share? Let's go to Nancy.
Good afternoon. My name is Nancy Smith, calling you from Brampton, Ontario, Canada, and Visionary Track. Mine's simple. I like scripting. I've been doing it regularly. I usually do it. I actually did it this morning, and I'm always surprised at the end of the day when I look back how the day actually did what was scripted. What surprised me today was using these sentence stems and how easily that flowed. Usually I just start and then think of my day and just go through it. But with the sentence stems, it was fulfilling and still feels right.
Beautiful. I so appreciate that. So please continue to use them. You can use these 5 sentence stems every day and let that be the frame. And or then if those expand into something that is uniquely created by you, Absolutely. But as similar to what Coach Lorna was sharing, it doesn't have to be this big, laborious thing, right? But as you so beautifully shared, Nancy, take a fraction of a moment to access that privilege of agency, to set the energy for the day. And what a beautiful core practice to bookend the day by looking back. And the privilege of agency is ours, regardless of whatever intensity we're currently experiencing. Kaya.
Hi, everyone. My name is Kaya Rain, and I'm calling in from New York City. The exercise was great. So my intensity happened this morning. Like this morning, it was just like everything just hit me, and I didn't sleep well. And I did do the scripting exercise this morning, and that sort of shifted my energy. And what I loved about this exercise, similar to Nancy, what surprised me was that normally, even if I get a stem like that, I would still go into my mind like, but this time it just flowed. And so it really made it such a beautiful experience. And I think part of it had to do with also putting my hand on my heart. And so I didn't have time to connect in my head and to think about anything. And so that was really surprising, the ease with which it flowed. And so I really
Beautiful.
appreciated that example and experience.
Yes, yes. Thank you for highlighting that. That the tool is to also support you with strengthening that muscle of being able to access the heart, trust the heart and what's coming through. And again, not needing to get caught in the laborious aspect of needing to think it out, right? And then what starts to happen is then that muscle becomes available to you in moments throughout the day where you're faced with a decision and then it comes through versus the heavy thinking approach, right? Or even if it might be like, well, gosh, I'm feeling like, what action am I meant to take to like, attract my next client? And then you feel it, you hear it, and you move. And that is all connected as you use a tool like scripting. It again has that additional effect of strengthening that intuitive connection muscle. And that's a benefit.
Thank you.
Yeah. Beautiful.
Thank you.
Awesome. Take a breath in and let it out. So from here, anything in regards to anyone who either wants support with the process of scripting and how to use it further than what we've spoken about so far, or maybe are looking for support on something that showed up as part of your scripting today. And again, just raise your digital hand. Or then just support in general. Oh my gosh, do I have the best roundtable where everyone is like so good? You're like, oh my God, we're so great, Heather. Everything's fine. We don't need any support at all. Back to Maria.
So it's a celebration. And I just wanted to share that I have been working with Heather for many years now in all of the different programs, and they're all fantastic. And this year, I'm actually going to rock it well into 6 figures. And I'm just so insanely excited about that because I've stuck with it and it's sustainable and I have line of sight and I use all the tools and I sometimes am quieter, but since I have my podium here, I will share that. Very grateful.
So appreciate that, Maria.
So
congratulations.
Yes, thank you.
That's so exciting.
Thank you.
I love this so much because you have really emphasized the path and the process for those of us who are highly sensitive, which is about that incrementalized progression and the power of staying with it. And you said like one of my most favorite highly sensitive entrepreneur and leader words, which is sustainable.
Yes.
That's what we are here to create as highly sensitive entrepreneurs and leaders, is putting in place what's going to support us and being able to sustain not only that continuous financial stability, but also the stability to continue to be able to be in our purpose, right? And to be like living and feeling that fulfillment of why we've been brought here as highly sensitives every day. And that is golden. That is golden. So congratulations. And thank you so much for bringing that to each and every one of us. Beautiful. Awesome. Who's next? Thoughts, comments, questions, scripting, anything else? Kaya.
I wanted to share that I know I'm fairly new to the group, and I had trouble finding the raise my hand. So if anyone was wanting to raise their hand and they couldn't, it's under reactions.
Thank
I
you
just
for
wanted
that
to put that
reminder,
out there.
Kaya. Thank you.
And I also wanted to share something that surprised me after I did the aligned, what's that assignment I did yesterday? It's the aligned action. I think it's 1310.
Oh, yes.
Okay. So I've worked with Heather 10 years ago. I'm back. And I was reminded of some of the work we did in the past where I completely got triggered and could not do it. And so yesterday, when I was working on the in, on, off assignment, I got a little triggered again, but then I reframed it and I decided to actually rent a WeWork space, which is huge for me. Like, this is miraculous. So I've decided to rent a WeWork space so that I can create a sense of structure for myself. So that is a massive celebration that I wanted to share.
That really is. That really is. I love how this roundtable session has shifted into celebration mode. Just curious, Kaya, so what helped you create the shift out of that triggered space?
Well, I think as I was listening to the recording, there were so many things that you were sharing that I realized when I actually ended up going into the training and looked at the 6-month review. And even though I'm not there yet, but I saw that, it was like, when you look back 6 months, like, where do you want to be? And I felt like that was like, I'm like, when I look back 6 months again, I don't want to have gone through the program and not see myself moving out of the same areas where I was stuck. All right, this is a little embarrassing, but 10 years ago.
Yeah, beautiful. So what I really hear you speaking to is utilizing the trainings, and not just the individual training, but really the fact, and this is a big part of why we make all of the trainings in your track available, right? Is so that you can be picking and choosing or referencing as needed, or asking the team, though you were able to get there on your own, which is really, really beautiful. I'm so excited to hear what comes from you having your WeWork space. Yeah, beautiful. Awesome. All right, we're going to get ready to wrap. Alicia, I see your hand up, so I'm going to follow up with you on the forum because I don't want you to start and then get cut off. Instead, I'm going to ask everyone to place their hand on their heart and take a moment to connect in. And what are you taking away from this weekly training roundtable? And taking a moment to highlight, circle that, write that down for yourself so you can easily bring it to the forum. And as always, such an honor to connect and be with you today. Beautiful. Let's all take a breath in and let it out. Amazing. What can shift in a short amount of time? My roundtable ended up shifting into celebrations. Like, just incredible, absolutely amazing. A reminder, privilege of agency, and the power of aligned community. Please, I don't know about you, but I feel better. I feel better. So please do share what you're taking away from this weekly training roundtable on the forum, what you heard, how you will use it. I invite you to embrace the practice of 20 words or less to support yourself and staying out of overwhelm. Other than that, leaving you with many blessings, business miracles. Use your privilege of agency, use your sensitivity as strengths. And until next time.